MLR, the latest round of result, folks. We got 5 games on. There were 3 teams on the bye, New York, New England, and ATL, but 5 games. We'll go over them quickly. You guys can let me know your thoughts. If you don't follow the MLR, it's free on the Rugby Network. I suggest if you want to watch some rugby in your free time, you want to catch up on some young emerging American talent, or some guys like Matanonu, Chris Robshaw, Bjorn Basson, who are still kind of battling it out in the MLR. Jump on, watch some games. The first one, winless DC get a win finally over Utah, whose season, to be fair, is not going a lot better. They could have lost it at the end, this one, with a penalty. And to be fair, DC, for the most part, were chasing this game, because Makane put Utah ahead. Sal did get one back for DC. Lasanga, the right winger for DC, got one of the better tries of the game with some pretty amazing steps. But I think the key point for this one is when it's 21-10 Utah in front, Utah end up getting a couple of yellow cards, not concurrently, but one after the other. And with the man down, plus that DC massive scrum on a Utah feed, which leads to their last try, that's what gets DC in front. So with a conversion kicked, they are 22-21 ahead with only like a few minutes to play. They do concede a penalty under pressure, so Utah got a chance to slot it at the death to sneak the win, but they miss, so DC managed to hold on for the win. That is their first win of the season. They're still 6th in the East, which is last. It's a 1-9 record, so not that great. But I mean, the crowd was decent for a team with the record they've got. The crowd was actually pretty pleasing, so good on them for getting out there. Utah are likewise 6th in the West, which is second to last because there's one more team in the West and the Dallas Jackals below them. Utah are home to Seattle next, so Utah's season's probably pretty much done, but they can certainly try to play spoiler for Seattle as Seattle try to catch up. And DC are home to Dallas. It was potentially going to be a game where 2 winless sides go up against each other, but DC got the result 1 week early, so there you go. The next one, Toronto and NOLA. I honestly stopped taking notes after a while for this one because there were just so many tries. 53-36. Another home win for Toronto. That's good. If they can make home a fortress, they should make a pretty good playoff run, although they are away next week. Some of the defense was seriously pretty optional, honestly. Like after a clean break, you would see guys, especially towards the end of the game, just kind of not forget about it. I mean, Dolan got the first one for NOLA. Toronto got a nice maul try through Salmon when even the backs were getting in there. It was kind of proper tit-for-tat stuff. Sheridan got one on the right wing with some steps as well for Toronto. So it's 24-10 at halftime, and then second half starts just as well for Toronto. They scored at the end of the first. They start the second well with another one, so it's 29-10. It goes to 36-10. I forget who the loose head prop is on 45 minutes, but it's a pretty sweet line-out move where they go the lineup kind of splits into 2 pods. They go up, chuck the ball down to the loose head prop who's charging through. You've seen that move done before, and it worked like magic. So really good line-out move. But then things just start going crazy with tries. There's one where the penalty hits the post, bounces back, and then Toronto chaser just manages to go over. One of those ones where guys have kind of switched off a little bit. So honestly, it's bonkers. But I mean, NOLA keep playing. They do score a couple of consolation tries. So 53-36. That scoreline is massive. I don't know what else to say. Toronto, they're 3rd in the East, so they're in a playoff spot at the moment. They're away to Houston, and NOLA are 5th in the East. They're home to AG, which could be a pretty tough one because AG, well, they're in a pretty good run themselves. LA and Houston. This one, maybe it was closer because remember, LA gave New York a real hiding last weekend. New York are a pretty solid team. Houston have been a bit indifferent, as you can see from their record. Kind of inconsistent, more than indifferent, to be honest. But LA seemed to be coming right at about the right time. But they were made to work for this one. I mean, Barrett powered over for Houston earlier to give them a lead, but then Houston ended up getting a yellow card for consistent penalties under pressure, and LA punished them. They punished them pretty comfortably not long later to make it 7 points apiece. And then Hermage's try. Like, that guy's got to be scouted as well. I mean, I'm all for keeping the top talent in the MLR as well, but part of the thing about the MLR is some of these American internationals should be looking to pick up contracts overseas. And Hermage seems like one of those guys who's just such a dynamic ball carrier. There's got to be teams interested in him. And I know Gary Gold likes picking the guys who are based overseas as well. So Homer Hayes is another one. I was talking about Bodie Nwaka last week. Homer Hayes is another one. He just looks like at another level from some of the other players he's playing with. So yeah, 14-7 at halftime, still pretty tight. And then Houston get one back. It was one of the midfielders. Was it Lesage or was it Dyer? I can't remember. But yeah, 14-12. So that's proper close. A penalty makes it 17-12, but it was still game on right to the death. But LA basically happy to kind of hold on. So made to work for it a lot more than last week. It wasn't quite as easy as they had it, which is good. And it means they go into the bye on a really good run after a kind of stuttery start to the season. LA, so they're second in the West on the bye, and Houston, like I mentioned, home to Toronto, fifth in the West. If they're going to make a move, they need to get their record a little bit higher from 5-5. San Diego couldn't quite get the job done against Seattle. This one was a pretty epic back and forth match, to be honest. Both sides kind of fluffed some early chances. Seattle's fly half, what's his name? Alatimo, behind the back pass sets up Yosefo for the first try of the game. And to be honest, it looked like Seattle was going to absolutely run away with this one. At one point, it was like 21-8. Ricat hadn't got a try out wide. Yeah, they were just loving life, their Seattle boys. But, I mean, Ma'anonu managed to set up a try, which was pleasing to see. Drew's man and offloaded to make it kind of like 21-13. But, yeah, it was looking pretty hard for the San Diego guys. With not long to go, they were still like 34-18 down, but they managed to score a try when Seattle had a yellow card. Rob Shaw set one up, so it's good to see some of the big names having some good games. And then a maul try on 75 minutes made it a two-pointer. But yeah, Seattle just managed to hold on. So like I mentioned, some good games. Guys like JP Smith, the halfback, the maul try was, I think, silver for San Diego initially. Yosefo got one, like I mentioned. So yeah, some really interesting, I don't know, just gameplay. Like the fact that it ends up as close as it was when it was actually pretty lopsided to start with. So yeah, both sides have got 5-5 records. Away to Utah goes Seattle. They definitely need to win that game to keep their playoff hopes alive. And San Diego home to ATL, which is going to be a tough one. But San Diego are third in the West, so they are in a playoff spot, just ahead of Seattle, actually, who are fourth. And I should say the crowd was really good for that game as well. Really pleasing. Seattle fans seem to be, I don't know, pretty good at attending sports events. Last one, it's a bit of a hiding, 57-3. What can you say? The top team against the bottom team. Remember, Dallas without a bunch of players again. Injuries seem to be really taking their toll. Dallas managed one penalty the entire game. I didn't write notes for all the AG tries because there was a lot. I like the Dallas jersey with the hoops. That was something a bit different. I don't think I've seen that one before, but being close range tries. They had 21 points after 20 minutes at the AG boys. AG did get a yellow card, but Dallas weren't able to kind of capitalise it, which was pretty unfortunate. O'Keefe got a couple of tries in the midfield for AG. It was 33-3 at halftime. There was one try on like 64 minutes where there was just like a kick through, and nobody from Dallas had any urgency to do anything about it. And it took a bit of a funny bounce, which rugby balls can do, and then it was another AG try, just way too soft. I was shaking my head at what these guys were doing. Kick return play, like they scored loads of different tries in loads of different ways, but ultimately 57-3 is an absolute hiding. So I hope the Dallas guys can turn it around. They're away to DC next week, like I mentioned, but I can't see them getting the win. Like 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I would have said this should be a good game, but DC's improved since then, and Dallas, with that accident off the field and a bunch of guys getting hurt, hasn't helped. But I mean, they've regressed, if anything, which is pretty gutting. So yeah, AG though looking good. They are away to NOLA. They'll be looking to keep their run going, like I mentioned. DC are awaiting the Dallas boys. So yeah, we'll see how things go. You guys let me know your thoughts on the games, kind of key moments, key players. Like I mentioned, Kumakhase is probably my player of the week. He just seems like an absolute unit, but other guys certainly stood out as well. Plenty of the backs got their hands on the ball. So yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.